today. Welcome to Papercrafting 101, Handmade Flowers. Many of you requested that I do a little tutorial showing you how I make my handmade flowers, so here it is. We have a ton of ground to cover today, so I want to jump right in, but before we do, I just want to say I am not the final authority on handmade flowers. I've been making them for a really long time, and I do love to do it. But there are as many different ways to make handmade flowers as there are flowers to be made. So if your technique differs from mine, or you have a way that you like to do it, that's great. I'm just showing you how I do it. You can pick up maybe some tips and tricks that you can use. Keep the meat, throw away the bones, and everyone will get along just great. So let's get started. Since it's almost Christmas, I thought my focus would be on making poinsettias, because they're so beautiful on Christmas cards. And because I'm a Heartfelt Creations crafter, I love their Christmas poinsettia and holly. And the reason I love them is that they come with a matching die. So we're going to make some of these together, but I just thought I'd show you kind of how they look. The beautiful thing about Heartfelt Creations is you stamp them and you die cut them, and you get a whole bunch all at the same time. Let me just show you. So see, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 petal layers and all these beautiful little holly leaves with one stamping and one pass through your die cut machine, which is awesome. The thing that makes it even better is that they have a matching, and here's the die. So you can see these are hooked together, and these you just lay them over your stamped image, and we'll do that together in a minute, so I won't belabor that point. But they make it very easy to make beautiful, professional looking handmade flowers. And then the icing on the cake is, yes, they have a mold, and I will show you this very quickly, even though we're going to use it. But you put your stamped and die cut layers inside this mold. You can do 3 layers at a time. They fit right inside. You run it through your die cutting machine once, and it adds shape and dimension to your petals, which is a huge time saver. Now, I like to do 2 different things. Sometimes I like to stamp on patterned paper. Some of these, like this one, and these were stamped on patterned paper. And the beautiful thing about that is you get instant depth and dimension to your flowers, and also coloring them becomes a non-issue because, hello, colored paper. It's also going to match your project perfectly if you use a patterned paper from the paper collection that you're working with. And then sometimes I just come back and spritz with a little mica mist to give them a little glimmer, or I hit them with, one of the wonderful gel products that's out there to add shine. So we'll do one of these together. The other thing you can do is just use plain paper, and I like to use this Heartfelt Creations Deluxe flower shaping paper. It's just a little bit heavier. It's 100-pound paper. It's got a super smooth finish, and it holds up really well to mixed media treatment. So this has become my go-to. It also shapes beautifully. So the patterned paper that we're using today is from the Candy Cane Cottage collection. The other collection that I've used today is the Poinsettia and Holly clusters, which makes these really petite poinsettia, and you can just see by comparison the size difference. But these are lovely to use as fillers in different arrangements. And again, this comes with the stamp, the matching die, and the shaping mold, which makes it very easy to use. Typically what I do is I stamp like these. I stamped with emerald green archival ink, and the reason you want to use archival is that it doesn't run when it gets wet, which is very important. But then I also like to heat emboss with a clear embossing powder. So I stamp and immediately heat emboss because archival has a short drying time. So if you don't get that embossing powder on there right away, you're going to miss out. And then I heat set it And then you can color them at that point before you dye them, or you can do what I did here. I die cut them. I put the petals in a box. I have an old box that I use as my spray box, and I hit them with glimmer mist, and I literally just spray them. So super easy. And then I'll just show you very quickly how to add the centers. For these little ones, I like to use prills. And if you're not familiar with prills, you need to get acquainted with prills. I'm just adding some of this Art Institute Dries Clear adhesive to the center of my flower. And this these are berry, that's what these are called. And you put them on there, give it a very light tap, tip it out, and look how sweet that is. See? Beautiful little centers, and they look lovely on your cards. So that's one way to finish the centers, and then just set them aside to dry. And just a word to the wise, always keep your prills capped, because when they spill, they make a mess. So that's a simple way right there to do a center. Another thing I love to do is add glass beads. So these are stamped on a suede paper with a darker green, and then die cut, heat embossed, die cut, and then I hit them with, I took a little makeup sponge, dabbed Dries white adhesive on that, and sprinkled them with Rajni Shalwa's frosted crystals, and that gives it that beautiful effect. Then I filled the center with hot glue and then poked these glass beads into the center, and you can see this makes a really elegant finish. I just love how these look, and so these are ready to go on a card. Then these are done on patterned paper, and you can really see, I'll turn this so you can really see the shaping that the mold does here. This center is filled with prills, but what I did was put a mound of hot glue in the center, let that harden. Then I came back with a little bit of my Dries Clear adhesive and topped it with prills. And I think these are, I can't remember the name of them, but I'll have links to everything. And then I did Rajni Shalwa's crystal frosting, crystal glitter to give these this really sparkly. They're really beautiful. So then this is even different. These use stamens, and I buy my stamens from Heartfelt Creations. They have a wonderful selection. These are the wired stamens, which I find really easy to work with. And this is so simple. I just stamped on the plain white paper with Versamark ink, and then I heat embossed with, let me find this for you, Stupendous Aged Ivory Embossing Enamel. And you can kind of see, let me take the cap off. See how it has all those different particles? Some are big, some are small, some are gold, some are white, some are ivory, and it creates this really wonderful, elegant vintage finish. So that's how these are done. And the big gold spots in here, that is just where the gold flecks in that embossing powder. And I've kept these on the wires because I'll use them to add in these. This is another style of stamen. These are rock candy stamens. And I also tapped these with the Dries Clear adhesive and the crystal clear embossing powder. But aren't those elegant and beautiful? So that's another way to do it. Are you getting the idea that you can just use your imagination when making these flowers? This is a fun look. This is done on, this was a pearlized red paper that I had in my specialty paper stash. And I stamped these with Versamark and heat embossed in gold. Then I came back, filled the center with a, I think it's called Gorgeous Prills. And then I used the Dries white adhesive and sprinkled them with the frosted, Rajni Shalwa's frosted. So those are really beautiful and vintage looking. I just love those. Then here we go. This is just patterned paper, Versamark, white embossing powder, pearl stamens, which gives it a totally different look. And there you go. And I like lots of layers to my poinsettia. Some people just do a couple of layers, but that's the beauty of it. They really become your flower. Then here's a fun one. This is super, I mean, the holidays give you so many excuses to get your glitz on. This is a gold metallic paper that I stamped again with Versamark heat embossed with white, super fine white embossing powder, filled with the pearl stamens, and then hit it with the Dries Clear Adhesive and Rajni Shalwa's crystal emboss glitter. So, so beautiful. And then finally, because you got to go shabby chic, how fun are these pink ones? And this is patterned paper from the Poinsettia collection for this year, which I can't remember the name of. Heat embossed with that same shabby ivory. I filled the centers with a white seed bead and then just tapped it very lightly with the Dries Clear Adhesive and added Rajni Shalwa's crystal clear. And here's the backs. So you can see, I don't know why I did that, but whatever. So there are some examples, and now let me clear all of this stuff away, and we're going to make one together so that you can kind of see how all the steps come together and all the different moving parts work. So let me clear myself a workspace here, and I'll be back in just a minute. Don't go away. Let's talk tools for flower shaping. There are a few things that will really help you, but honestly, if all you have is an old dowel and the will to make beautiful flowers, you can do it. These are just things that make life easier. My number one recommendation, if you're just getting started, is to go ahead and get the Heartfelt Creations Flower Shaping Kit. And I love this because it has really everything you will need to get started. And then as you grow in your craft, you'll probably want to add more tools. But it comes with this shaping mat. And I can, as you can see, I use one side for the dirty work and I keep the other side clean. And that's just a really good tip. And here's your stylus. And it comes with all these different tips. It has a magnetic end on it. So these just clip in. There's a quilling tool. There's all these different styluses, which you do use. And then there's a piercing tool as well, which comes in really handy for putting your centers in your flowers. So this is the place to start. These are great tools. Then if you want to up your game, I just added these this year and I love them. These are the Gulf flower shaping tools, and you can get these at Heartfelt Creations as well. And there are 4 of them in the set. They're really heavy metal, and they have this little groove on the end, and I'll show you how that works. This adds really beautiful texture to your petals. And there's a large one, a smaller one, and a medium one. And then there are piercing ends here. This works really well as a stylus. And then see, here's another with a piercing end. So I love these. I'm using these more and more. I just think they're fantastic. So that, and then I like to stamp on, and this is really disreputable looking because I've had it for like 10 years, but this is a stamping pad. And if you're like me, my table is old and it's got some pits and some uneven spots in it, and that can really mess up your stamping. So I like to use this stamping pad. I also like this little Fiskars press. It just makes it, I'm not a great stamper, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I can do a few things. I'm not a fantastic stamper, but this really helps me. So let's go ahead and get started. And these we're just going to make just place your stamps down, and these are cling stamps, so they will work with and then these are the holly pieces. These will work with any kind of block, acrylic block. Sorry, I was having a mental block about what to call an acrylic block. So the way I use this little stamp press is I just put my stamps out there the way I want them, and then I press this down, and then I come in with my ink. And I'm going to do these with the green veins, but you could go gold, you could go white, you could go red, you can go, I mean, if you want to make blue poinsettias, go with blue, but I like to really ink up my stamps so I've got a nice juicy stamp going. And then I'm just going to put this down, make sure I'm where I need to be, and press, and then just, I like to put pressure, and I'm holding this down. You don't want to wiggle it, but see how beautiful that is? Then immediately come in with your embossing powder, and I need to refill. I keep mine in a plastic container. I just find it's easier, but I'm just gonna move this over those stamped images, gently tap off the excess. Don't do this flicking thing because you're just flicked off all the embossing powder you put on. And then you're just going to heat emboss. Let your machine get hot, and then just emboss. And you can tell when your embossing powder is ready because it gets raised and shiny looking. If it's got that same flat, like no dimension and flat matte color, it is not done. It's not baked. So that's a good little tip. And I keep my embossing gun moving around. The reason you do that is that paper burns, people. Paper burns. So if you just hold it real close to the paper in one spot, you're going to burn your paper. So keep your embossing tool moving as you heat emboss. And that looks great. So now you have a decision to make. You can come in with sponge daubers. Maybe we'll just go ahead while we're doing this, we'll stamp another set, and I'll show you two different ways to do this. We're going to line up, stamp, and you don't have to heat emboss. That is totally a judgment call on your part, but I like to. Okay, so I've cut my paper into two sections. This one we're going to set aside. We're going to do something different with that. I'm going to show you how to sponge ink onto your flowers. And these are the Heartfelt Creations daubers. This just fits on your finger, so it's super easy. And this is Distress Oxide Candied Apple. I wanted something really bright. So I'm just going to pick up some ink, and this is how easy this is. My embossing powder is cool, and you just come in. And you don't even have to color. You see, you just, and you can go as light or as dark as you want to. You can even come in and layer another color on over this if you want to. But honestly, you can achieve different shades of this same color just by how much ink and pressure you apply while you're sponging. So we can make one really dark for the center, see? And it looks like almost a different color, or we can go really light, so it's almost pink. And it's nice to have variation in the coloring on your flowers because, you know, in nature, flowers aren't perfectly colored. They don't look like coloring books, they look like flowers. So you can do your centers a little darker. Sometimes I come back and I get the tips a little darker. But it's just, it's quick. You see how quick that was. And you're going, yeah, but it's a mess. Yeah, but we're going to die cut them. So it's perfect. And now come in with your dies, which everything's a mess here on my station. And I'll just show you a quick tip for these. They come in this lovely little plastic package so they're easy to store. And these are going to line up. See how I've lined that up with my stamped image, and there's no white lines around that. Then I buy this Post-it tape. You can get this on Amazon. You can probably get it at Staples. You can use this multiple times, and that's just going to hold that in place so that these won't shift when I put them through my die cut machine. And you can see there's if I take a minute and look at this, normally there's a way that they go. And if they don't line up, it means that you don't have it in the right spot. But that is exactly right. So that one goes there. And then this one goes here. And this will just hold these in place as I run them through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to go die cut and I'll be right back. These have been run through my machine, and I just punch them out. See how they just fall right out, and they're perfect. Love, love, love these. They're so easy to use. This one is stuck on the Post-it tape. See? There you go. So now we have this. And do you see how perfect? They look like I colored them perfectly, but all I did was sponge that ink on. Super sneaky. It's a great tip. Now come in with your mold. Now you can shape these by hand, and I will show you very quickly how to do that. So set up your mat. You can start with a stylus. This is probably a pretty good size. It's not the biggest one, it's the next one down. And I just run from the tip to the center. And it's going to wrinkle that paper as it goes. Then press in the center. Now if you want to add more detail, this is where these little golf groove tools come in. And now you can come in and you can make a couple of swipes with this, following the shape of that edge, and I'm pressing down pretty hard, but you see how that curls it even more. So that is how you would shape it by hand, and then come in with your stylus and just press the center down to lift those petals, and there you go. Can you see the little detail that the groove tool put in there? And that didn't take that long. But if I like to make my flowers in bulk, and then I store them in these old Stampin' Up! Plastic cases, they're perfect for flowers. So I like to use the mold because it's fast. And you just lay your flowers in face down. And you can do up to 3 layers at the time, so you can really get a lot done. And of course this guy's already been done, so we don't do him. And then just come in with a misting bottle, and you're literally just going to do this, just like that. You are not giving them a shower. You're just, the water softens the petals so they'll take the shape of the mold, and it also releases the starch that is in the paper, which will help them hold their shape. So then this just fits over the top, and then you run it through your die cutting machine. You just run it through with your clear plastic plates, but follow the directions for your machine. So I ran this through my machine. It took like 10 seconds, and look, they are perfect. So incredible. Now I bring my little shaping mat in. and my stylus, and literally you just poke the center, and there it is, people. There it is. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that. So if you're making a bunch, the molds are definitely the way to go. But now you know how to do it both ways. So let's add, I showed you how to do frills. Let me show you how to do stamens. So for adding the stamens, you need something with a sharp point. You can use a piercing tool, you can use an awl, whatever. But poke through the center. And I want a double layer, so I'm going to poke through this. I'm going to lay this over this. Poke through both layers. And you want to go down far enough to make a pretty good hole. Then I'm going to come in, I think I want to use these red rock candy stamens, and you just need to snip the little thread that holds them together to open the package. And then, let me see, I didn't get quite through that. Depending on how full you want it to be, I like to usually do about 5 for a bigger flower, and I kind of line them up, then I fold them in half. And again, everybody does this different, so you do you. I take a tiny bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to let that cool to about a count of 5 or 10, and I'm going to twist it to make a point on the end, and then I'm going to thread this through. This just helps you get all those ends through that hole. And just grab it on the other side and gently pull it through. And then do the same thing here. Now the wired stamens are way easier to use because they are, you know, they're stiff wire. They just poke through the hole. So if you're just starting out with stamens, I recommend the wired ones. But these rock candy are so pretty. So stagger your layers. Just turn it so that they're staggered. And once you're happy with the way it's, whoops, see, that wants to turn. So take a wee dab of hot glue, put it in between the layers. Get your layers fixed the way you want them. And then what I do is I kind of lift them with my hand, and then I come to the back and I add a little dab of glue to the back, and I set them aside to dry. So that's how to add stamens to the centers, and you already saw how to do frills. So let me clean this up. I'll come back and we'll work with patterned paper. Oh, I'll show you real quickly. Hold on. Just 1 second. We're not quite done. So at this point, you can spray these with glimmer mist if you want to go for a glitzier flower. You got to pull off all these horrible glue webs. There. So pretty. So you can put these in a box, and I'll show you my box. You're going to laugh. This is just a shipping box that I keep, and this is, as you can see, this is where I do all my spraying. And I leave the flaps on it because it protects my work area. A couple of tips about glimmer mist. Use a baby wipe. I just use this, so I probably don't really need to do this, but when you open it, use a baby wipe, clean the nozzle. Shake it side to side. Don't shake it up and down because there are little mica granules in there. Now you can hear the rattling. I put a couple of beads in mine to help it break down the mica faster. So Make sure you're aiming at your flower. And you can do just one little spritz. See how that deepened it? Or you can really go to town. See? Pretty, pretty. And as that dries, the mica will come out. And then you can flip it to the back, because sometimes in your arrangements, the back of the petals shows as well. But that is a quick way to add an extra layer of shimmer and shine to your handmade flowers. Fun, right? And not hard. So for patterned paper, you're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the plain paper, only you don't have to color it. You can leave out the sponging part, or you can come in and you can sponge it with a different color, or you know, whatever. So once this is dry, and I'm just going to hit it with the heat tool real quick. Okay, so I think that's beautiful just the way it is. But let's say you wanted to add glitter. This is just a makeup sponge. You just need a little piece. If you want clear glitter, put a little puddle of Dry's Clear on your work table. Bring in your little funnel tray. And the cool thing is you haven't cut the back off your flower yet, so you can hold on to that. Pick up the glue and kind of tap it out, and randomly tap it over your petals. Just like this. You can do a little, you can do a lot. It's kind of up to you. Then, this is the Crystal Clear Rajnishala. Carefully lift this top because this glitter will fly. Make sure you don't have your ceiling fan going. And you're just going to shake this over, shake it off, and see how it just picked up. Now if you want more, you just come in, a little more glue, hit the petals again, see how beautiful? Just simple. And when you put this on your card, it's really, really gorgeous. And glitter is another thing that you want to keep capped when it's on your work table, because otherwise it's a disaster. And I mean for reals. I'm just scooping this onto a piece of card, and I'm going to put it back in my box because I can use it again. So I can't really think of anything else to show you. I do have one other product, so maybe we'll put one more flower layer together here. Bring in our stamped flower, and okay, so that broke. That's not a problem. We can totally fix that. Don't freak out. Stay calm. So I want to do this one with a large, a medium, and a small. I think that'll be pretty. And for that, I think I only want 3 stamens because the small one is small. Can't see that. So again, I just fold them, twist them, little tiny dab of hot glue on the bottom. Let that set just for about 5-10 seconds so you don't burn the tips of your fingers off. Twist that. So find your smallest layer, and I'm going to have to make that hole bigger. Can you hear my washing machine in the background? It's Monday, it's laundry day. I have the world's loudest washing machine. Okay, so pull this up to the center. Little dab of hot glue, and you can use dry as clear if you want. I like hot glue for this particular thing. So we're going to take this broken one, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to fix. See where it tore right here? I'm just going to slip this around it, stagger my petals, and that hot glue is going to hold it in place. And see, there's the tear. We're just going to put our hot glue right there, and it's going to hold it where we want it to be. This is another product that I absolutely love for flower making. This is Viva Decor 3D stamp paint, and it's got mica built in, and it's got kind of a mousse texture to it, so it's really fun to work with. You do want to keep it tightly sealed, but typically what I do with this is I just go in and get a little dab. It doesn't take much at all, and I stamp it out. And then I come in with my makeup sponge and I just tap it on the petals. And do you see the magic that's happening here? And you saw that was just the itty tiny dab that I used. But look how gorgeous. I mean, like really, for reals, gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You see how shiny and sparkly that is? I like it so much I might add it over this one just so they're the same. But see, I'm just working with that tiny little bit that's on my mat, and it's adding that wonderful sparkle. So this is another really fun product to use. But that is it, guys. I've got this huge mess on my crafting space. I've got flowers to finish making. You saw how to spray them. You saw how to add mousse. You saw how to add stamens. And then also, I don't know where our little prill one went, but it's super cute. Flower making, Papercrafting 101. Thank you for joining me. I hope I shared a few tips and tricks. This is just poinsettias, and maybe as the year goes on, I'll do other seasonal flowers. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up in the comments section and let me know if you want me to do more flower shaping videos. Like I said, I'm not the world's leading authority on flower shaping, but I have made a few and I do enjoy it. So I'm glad I could share it with you. You can follow my blog at kathybydesign.com. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to go get my craft on. Bye.